Coming up this week on Front End Fire, big TanStack releases are hitting shelves, Next.js is making navigation instant, and Shai-Hulud, here we go again. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Front End Fire, the weekly podcast that helps you stay up to date on the latest and the greatest in the front end world. I'm your host this week, Paige Niedringhaus, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Jack Harrington.
Hello.
And TJ Van Tol.
Hey everybody.
We have some interesting news to get into. We've got some big news from TanStack, as always it seems like. Next.js, which has not really been in the news lately, so it'll be fun to hear what they're up to. And, of course, the supply chain attacks continue on NPM.
It never ends.
It never ends. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get into the news. All right. We haven't heard much about Next.js lately, so TJ, what are they up to?
They have a new 16.3 release, and it's got a few things in here that I think are interesting, even if you're not into Next or if you're not a regular Next user. So first, just to get of course, they have the obligatory things that are, all these releases start with everything's way faster. So they say their dev server uses 90% less memory, and builds are 5.5 times faster on CI.
Cool.
Wow,
and
5.5 times.
So they say that the improvements are coming from some disk caching updates that they made back in 16.1 that are now stable and enabled by default. So when you update in theory, you'll see faster updates, faster builds, less memory, and you will also potentially see TypeScript 7. So they have TypeScript 7 integration. So if you remember, TypeScript 7 is the the Go-based version of, I'm just thinking everything's in Rust,
but next.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be TypeScript 8, but Next now offers you the ability to use TypeScript 7 and the faster compiler if you want to opt into that. But there was two things that I think are interesting in this release that are kind of interesting no matter if you use Next or not. So first, and we briefly mentioned this on the show many episodes ago, but they're doing a very interesting thing with their basically the context window in the agents.md file. So what happens with Next 16.3 is when you run next dev for the first time, it basically dumps a bit of text into your agents.md file, which is the context you provide to your agents. It's in this little commented block, and it basically tells the LLM where to look for Next documentation.
All right, that makes sense.
And according to them, it leads to better docs because it can, instead of guessing, it can search down and actually find the docs in your node modules and dig down and find them. I was a little thrown off because I tested this this morning. I was playing around with the new release, and I was surprised that it actually just dumps it in that file. And then, you have to put it into source control or whatever. It just seemed like it would be some sort of hidden behind the scenes sort of thing. And it's like, oh, I actually have to check this into source control and such. But I don't know. It'll take some time to see if it makes a difference.
Because otherwise you're going to get this agents.md file that just keeps on growing by one liner every time. Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought about, though. It's like, okay, this is fine, I guess, but what if every library and tool I use starts doing this sort of thing? Is this just going to turn into a complete mess in here? And I don't know, maybe it will, but that's the approach they're taking. So if you are a Next person, you upgrade, be prepared for that. And I guess we'll see if other libraries start doing this as well.
But Next is important, TJ.
Yeah.
Beyond any other thing, man. Jeez.
Exactly. And then the other interesting thing is that they have this new feature called, what they call instant navigations, which is, pretty good marketing and branding.
Yeah.
But they say it's a suite of tools that bring the responsiveness of client-driven spas to Next.js without sacrificing the benefits that come with its server-driven model. So what this actually is first you have to enable a flag. So this is not on by default, but this cache components flag. And then with this new release, if you have this flag enabled, when you have a route that is going to await some data on the server, Next will actually error you and present you with a choice of options for what you want to do. So either you can stream with React Suspense so that the user can see a loading state. You can cache with use cache. So this is the next feature where they'll cache your components. That's what the flag is actually for. Or you can tell Next that you want to just keep whatever the current behavior was and just block on the await. But the idea behind this, at least, is that they want to get away from server components feeling sluggish because they have to go to the server before the user does anything, and to instead make it seem more like a spa where the user sees a shell or a cache version right away while the server process takes place. And personally, I don't think this is that big of a deal, but Next is, in typical fashion, Vercel is flagging this as it's a revolutionary new thing and giving it a fancy name. But
I was just going to say, it seems like they're kind of going in a loop between client rendered, server rendered, client sort of rendered, but on the server and vice versa. It's just like, it's getting really hard to follow what's doing what where, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the thing, I actually thought it did this. That's the weird thing. Like, I thought that they got like hot loads and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. That's weird.
I think the thing that's uniquely new is this ability to cache components. And that's the part, like I said, it's still behind a flag. So I still have to play with this a little bit. I just got in. The release is kind of new. I was just trying it out this morning. So I haven't seen what this flag actually does or what it's going to offer, what the caching strategy is, how that all works. So I still have to play with it, but just FYI for the next people out there, this is available. So if you are using server components and you are using awaits, when you update, eventually you're going to be presented with this.
I've never heard of a framework as cache obsessed as Next. Like, everything has to be cached, right? Mm-hmm. And when the app router first came out, everything was cached, and it was pissing people off because they're like refreshing the page, looking for stuff to change, and like, what's going on? And they're like, no, hold on, you have to invalidate stuff, and you're like, wait, what? Like, dude, like, caching should be like a fire, like a hot burner on the stove for you guys. Just like, keep away unless you really, it doesn't really makes a difference.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. Their builds are faster because of some different caching thing that they're doing. So that's also in this blog post. And so you're right. And I mean, obviously the crux always comes whenever you cache something that you have to worry about invalidate. It's one of the 3 hard problems in computer science, right? It's cache invalidation is very tricky. So, but
yeah, guys, pick naming. Go off and try naming some stuff for a while.
Go work on naming
Go
instead.
work on naming. That's another hard problem you can get into.
I'm sure there's some off by one errors that need to be solved in there somewhere.
I was going to say, Instant Navigations is a great name. Maybe they're crushing it on the naming part.
Yeah, okay,
so
you're right. Yeah,
they just got to work on the caching.
They solved that hard problem. Now they have to just not try so hard on caching. Just leave caching to us, y'all. We know where the caching problems are in our apps. Like, we'll do that. Just give us the tools.
Well, they got to have something worth talking about, so apparently that is it. All right, well, that's cool. Good to see that Next.js is still pumping out some new features for everybody who's on some version of their framework at this point.
Yep.
All right. Jack, what's going on with TanStack? You got some more TanStack news, right?
So much good stuff with TanStack. As I sit in my TanStack hoodie that does not have the new branding on it. I got the old OG branding on there. But
we call that vintage.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, okay. So we have basically 2 libraries doing some really big releases this week. TanStack Table has done a V9 release, which is huge performance gains for TanStack Table. That really kind of put it at the leading edge of performance in this kind of table space. And that actually, I didn't know this actually. I thought Query was the original library, but turns out like Table is the original library for TanStack.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. And, but it continues on. And so that's really exciting.
I'll say too, as having come from this space, this is one place where performance is actually mission critical, legitimately.
Yes.
Sometimes these frameworks and components like to throw around performance, and really it doesn't actually matter. But when it's tables and you're dealing with big grids, this stuff is actually incredibly important and also incredibly hard, because you start getting, you're dealing with huge data sets that you're filtering through and trying to make sense of. And so yeah, it's anytime you see performance gains in this space, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, we did a rollout video with a bunch of the different libraries. When we did the rebranding video, it was the first live on the TanStack YouTube, so you should go over there, check that out, subscribe, watch that one. And he showed off a spreadsheet, like a full-on spreadsheet implementation with TanStack Table. And it's like, dang, that's pretty cool. I'm all about the spreadsheets, man. I love spreadsheets. I don't know. I guess I'm the subway inclined.
You're not alone. There's lots of people who like spreadsheets.
Just so easy. But okay, and then the other one, well, is my personal favorite, which is TanStack AI, and we've done a lot on TanStack AI over the last 3 months or so, primarily in the persistence space. So there's always been a problem with like the AI SDK where it kind of like left off at persistence, and persistence means like how do you save and restore a chat? Or save and restore an image generation or whatever like that. And so we basically formalized all that. We've got, a lot of AI docs to show you how to go and connect it to different backends, how to integrate the schemas so that, it's all the chat stuff is stored in your schema with your users, but then retrievable in a standard form. And then also we used durable streams to really harden the connection between the server and the client, so that you can just like refresh the page in the middle of a chat, and it just keeps keeps going as if there was no issue at all. So it's really, really cool. That's the big win. And then we've also added memory support. So this is where you've got systems that will go and look at the incoming request or incoming chat message from the customer, and then say, hey, is there anything in my memory system related to this customer or this project or whatever that has bearing based on what this request is? And then add that into the context. And then at the end of the chat, it'll go and essentially do the inverse. So looking through the chat, seeing if there's anything about that chat it wants to maintain in memory long term, and then store that off. And so like that really gets around these issues of your chats kind of having no context at all about what it is that they're talking about, needing to start from scratch every time. This is connecting to those kinds of systems. So just really great stuff in TanStack AI.
It's interesting because we have a chatbot on our site now, of course, because I think everybody is having one at this point, which is part of why this is so exciting. But it's funny because it started off as a small little experiment, but of course, over time now it's becoming more serious. And then all of a sudden, like we started off with no persistence at all because we're like, well, we just want to see if this thing does anything.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, we need to actually turn this into a legitimate thing. We need, logs and persistence and all this stuff. And it turns into quite the bottleneck. So suffice to say, I might be checking out TanStack. TanStack AI. Actually,
we put a ton of work into this.
Are there any local storage options? Like if you don't care too much, like can you local storage or IndexedDB this or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, as with all things TanStack, we're just kind of giving you a contract to start, and then we're giving you a couple of implementations, and we're giving you some agentic markdown stuff so that the agents understand like how to patch that in. So you can ask your agent, hey, just for the time being, store this in a JSON file or a SQLite file, and then we'll go from there, kind of thing.
Nice.
We just want to give you those hooks and make those hooks really solid, and then you can go and build on top of whatever you want. Actually, it was kind of funny, like in the evolution of this thing, we actually had like 3 different We had like a Drizzle backend and a SQLite backend and something. And we just pulled those out because we're like, at the end of the day, we don't need to give you those implementations, and they just actually are more maintenance on us than we don't want to tell you what your schema needs to be. You know what your schema needs to be. So as long as your agent can look through the docs and we've actually tested this, of course, and to make sure that it can actually do that. Store off that data. It's really cool.
Nice.
And the same thing, memory.
So what's the next big things that you're working on, or do you know yet?
We're really working towards 1.0, trying to just kind of button that up. So for the moment, it's a lot of bug fixing, getting the issue counts down, all that. I wish I had more time to look at it, to be honest. Like, we got two contributors on the team, Tom and Alum, who are amazing, who are really driving it forward. And I just wish I could keep up with them. They're doing such amazing work.
Well, you're spreading the good word about it, Jack. You got to get those users in.
All right.
All right. That sounds very exciting. That's awesome. Good for TanStack AI. Looking forward to that 1.0 release when it gets there. All right. So for my news this week, not as exciting or happy, should we say, as TJ's and Jack's. Shai-Hulud has made the news yet again.
Yeah, we're at the point where we need like a sound effect or a.
Oh, I know exactly this one. In the original, this is so good. So in the original Dune movie, the one, the David Lynch Dune movie, there's a guy who, like, I think Stilgar goes, Shai-Hulud, really deep, right? And yeah, we should go bring that in because that's great.
If you can find
I'll
that,
go grab that.
We'll get it in because we know this is coming back. This won't be the last time we cover this.
Yeah, that's like the dopest thing in that whole movie was the Shai-Hulud.
Yes, it is. It's been a while since we've talked about it, but it has been making the headlines again this week. This week it was the maintainer of the KeyV library, which is a key value storage system. At least it was, aptly named. And it has a library that is 127 million weekly downloads. It got hit. And that maintainer also happens to maintain cacheable, flat cache, and file entry cache, among others. And flat cache and file entry cache both have over 560 million downloads per month from NPM. So these are dependencies that are used inside of a lot of other packages. They're low-level dependencies, so even if you have never heard of them, there's very, very good chance that some of your dependencies in your projects are using them. So it sounds like it was a very standard kind of Shai-Hulud hacking, if there is such a thing. Malicious files were pushed. So the maintainer got compromised. Malicious files were pushed straight to main, and then they immediately cut a new release to publish them. And so GitHub Actions said this is all valid. Like, it was verified, it was credentialed, it was from what should be a trusted maintainer. And there was a new pre-install script that actually, it didn't do the malicious install. It went and downloaded Bun runtime from GitHub. And then Bun runtime actually installed the malicious payload, which was called mathsymbol.js. Nicely obfuscated there. And then mathsymbol.js proceeded to steal every credential that it could find on a user's system. So it was going for NPM tokens, GitHub tokens, AWS credentials, Kubernetes secrets, HashiCorp Vault tokens, Stripe and Slack tokens, and then like anything else it could find on a file system that was maybe of interest. So
wow,
it happened again.
I saw that part about the Bun executable, and I'm like, wow, that's clever. Using like cutting edge Bun features of creating an executable. Like, why not?
It also takes advantage of the fact Bun's done so much to optimize that thing so that it works everywhere and that it's easily installable. And they're kind of using that against you in a way. It's clever in a sort of evil way.
It is.
Exactly.
And it runs in a pre-install script, so all the post-script installs that have been recently shut down and hacked were not, this didn't do anything for that. Yeah, and then so there were a couple of different write-ups from different cybersecurity tools that I read through, and one of them was from a company called Socket, which we've probably talked about before, but their malware detection tool flagged it within 6 minutes of the first malware being published to Kiwi. But nothing was done that quickly. The maintainer, I don't think, even knew that he'd been hacked at that point. And it was probably within the next hour or so that all of these other maintenance projects that he also maintained got hacked and pushed malicious code to their own NPM repos as well. And then it just started spreading to other people who were downloading it. So the tools are catching it. It's just the mitigation time to actually fix it once it's happened is the new lag.
Well, I wonder if it would be good to have it so that, like, as a maintainer, I can say, "Hey, I trust Socket," and if they find that there's malware code in my, they can preemptively go and just do it. So that if I'm, on vacation in the Bahamas or whatever, it's like, okay,
Right.
Well, I think,
or even
that what
if you're
Socket,
just asleep because it's not your time zone.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure, though, that's what Socket sells. Like, you use their stuff and...
Oh, but you're an OSS maintainer, though.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. They might offer things for OSS
Maybe.
people. I'm not sure.
Actually.
But one thing, though, Paige, I'm pretty sure... I know for PNPM, at least, it does block pre-install scripts. Because it's got just a generic allow builds thing. And if you don't explicitly whitelist things in your allowed builds list, it blocks basically all the scripts.
Yeah.
So I don't know Node's new implementation, which Node's new implementation is brand new. So I don't know how many people would even have it yet, but I would hope that would block all scripts, but I can't say I've used it. So I don't know that for sure.
Yeah. PNPM really seems to be the way to go if you want to kind of try and mitigate some of this risk. NPM just cannot keep up, unfortunately, and there are legitimate reasons that people do need pre-install scripts too, so those maintainers need to figure out a new solution. But yeah, it's still a mess, and it continues to be for very, very high download packages.
Yeah, I'm still bummed out by the whole prove builds thing, though. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Like, especially when you're like, why is this package even native?
Sure. But it's also like, I mean, two-factor auth is a pain in the butt, but it became a reality because people suck on the internet. So it's you throw that in the same bucket. Like having to use a tool that blocks new packages for 24 hours, which PNPM does by default now, other tools are doing as well. I mean, that can be annoying at times, but at the same time, it's a reaction to the environment we now find ourselves in.
I think a lot of this is just people not keeping their CI/CD up to date, right? It's not people. There's just a bunch of older NPMs that are running on CI/CD, and people just don't even think about it. It's like, oh, I have the most recent stuff on my machine. Oh, wait, hold on, my CI/CD
there's just a bunch of old rotting code that's running the internet. TJ showed Jack and I a screenshot earlier this week of some website that was still using a jQuery calendar plugin.
It's a jQuery UI date picker page, just to be very clear. And it was a jQuery UI date picker within a jQuery UI dialog, which I did not fail to notice also. But I still flag those every time I see them in the wild. And I saw 2 of them this week, so they will not die.
Yeah, and these were on prominent e-commerce websites. This was not like just some really random small website that TJ was on.
Yeah, it was on lazyboy.com. So, pretty good sized brand. They still got some jQuery UI date pickers in their system. So
they have lazy in the name, TJ. And besides, okay. Are you in the market for a lazy boy? This is what I'm hearing.
Well, not anymore. One has been purchased. So.
One has been ordered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, it was scheduling a delivery. That's what I needed the date picker.
Nice.
For.
Yeah, that's even that is literally that's the site that's going to get the zero with maintenance.
Because it's like some internal site that was written probably 15 years ago or whatever that people used to schedule, and it's most people aren't using the thing, so there's no pressure to convert that thing.
Yeah. And what's the value? Oh wait, we're gonna go move that to React. Okay.
Yeah.
Why spend the credits basically, the tokens,
and you know what?
Port that thing to React.
It still worked. It worked great. I had no issue scheduling it. So,
okay. So what is it? Is it just a single recliner? Is it a full couch? What's the deal here?
We got a recliner and a couch. My wife's been redoing the room to the side here of me, and so we're replacing some furniture that I've had for. I got an Art Van leather couch and leather chair as my very first real purchase after I got a real job out of college. And those things are still in the house. And you can tell I got them from the clearance section of Art Van. And honestly, they've done quite well for what they are. I mean, those things are 20 years old. They've held up quite well, but it was time to upgrade those. So. But I've only scheduled delivery. I don't have them. When I do, I can send you pictures, show you what.
Sure yes, what we're working with. Absolutely. So. I mean, I joke about Lazy Boy, but some friends of mine down the Bay Area have Lazy Boy, and every time I jump on that couch, it's like, yep, hit the button. Dog jumps up in my lap like, hey, okay, let's chill.
Yeah, the recliner is the headliner. My wife sits in that thing a lot, so she got a pretty nice one. So that's the main thing we're looking forward to.
Yeah, nice. You can actually sleep in those things.
Oh, easily, yes.
Yeah. My in-laws have one, and my oldest nephew has done that on more than a couple of occasions. Just flatten it out as much as you can, and we'll come out in the morning, and there he is, blanket in the Lazy Boy. Nice. All right. Well, that's kind of the main news section for this week, but I know that we have a bunch of lightning news, so let's talk about that. All right. Who wants to start us off for lightning news?
I could go with we've got an update. Actually, it's not much of an update, but the Deno v. Oracle lawsuit. So to give people some background, I guess the 30-second version of this, you can look through old episodes of this show because we've talked about this on the show. It's actually, this lawsuit has been going on long enough that I think this might be the thing that spans the entire arc of our podcast, more or less. But basically, Oracle acquired the trademark to the word JavaScript when they bought Sun Microsystems. And if you're thinking it's weird that a company could own the trademark to JavaScript, well, Deno agrees with you, and so they basically asked Oracle nicely to give up the trademark so that people could use the word JavaScript. And Oracle, being Oracle, took them, Deno basically took them to court, and that's been going on for several years. And to give you the short version of it, Deno's suit alleged that Oracle should have their trademark revoked on 3 different grounds: genericness, fraud, and abandonment. The fraud thing went to court first. It was a whole thing, and Deno actually gave up that claim, more on legal technicalities versus anything, but that took, over a year to play out. So now they're on to the genericness claim and the abandonment claim. They are in the discovery process, and the update is that Oracle just asked for another extension, the 5th time they have asked during this process, and Deno granted that extension. So this court case is not dead. Honestly, it might outlast either this podcast or Deno the company at this point, and that might be what Oracle's playing to. But this case continues. Or doesn't, I guess.
Yeah, Oracle just continues to drag its feet at every turn.
Yeah. But the idea behind discovery is, in theory, it is that this is where they're digging through old emails and such, and Oracle kind of has to prove that they're actually using the term JavaScript for something. And this is one of the weakest of their claims because in their actual trademarking, in the actual thing they filed for the trademark in their defense, they just pointed to one JavaScript library they built one time. That was the entirety of their defense.
Well, And they pointed to Node. They pointed to Ryan Dahl's own creation of Node, which they do not own, which he owns, and he's the one bringing the lawsuit. I mean, it's completely galling to see that this is how they're trying to defend themselves.
Well, that was the fraud part of this process, which Deno did choose to give up on. So they were legally allowed to use those Node pictures, or at least it was more that it wasn't viewed fraudulent enough to warrant revoking a trademark, basically, even if it was 100% in bad faith.
Oh, we'll keep you updated on that. It just makes me dislike Oracle so much more than I did before.
Yeah, they are a massive corporation. It's like one of those things where it's like the big boat, like hard to steer it. I'm sure there are people inside of Oracle who are like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it would be such a nice PR win for them, right? Like, they could make a big deal out of it. They could, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Have a big ceremony, ribbon cutting, handing over the key, something to make a big deal out of it. But no, they just will not.
Because to Dino's point, they're getting literally nothing out of it. Like, it'd be one thing if they were using it, if they had a series of JavaScript branded things that they were actually getting value out of, but they don't. So,
right?
So why are you hanging on to it?
Yeah. And like Larry Ellison, when he's out there on his mega yachts and stuff, and it's like, kind of looks like a jerk. And it's like, well, you could like look 10% less jerk if you would give away this, just for the goodness of the world,
Mm-hmm.
And if not, name the yacht JavaScript. Do something like
use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep you updated whenever there's new press about it. One thing that I wanted to share this week that I came across towards the end of the week was that we talked last week, I think, about OpenAI and how one of its models during cybersecurity exercises had broken out of its sandbox on Hugging Face and gone on the regular internet and compromised some systems to get to its end goal. So, not to be outdone, Anthropic has now written about how their models and Claude have done similar things. And let me see, I've got some notes about it. So on 3 separate occasions, out of 141,006 very specific evaluation runs, Claude broke out of its containment and was able to go on the internet. And it was doing capture the flag challenges when this was happening. So that's when Claude is given a fictional scenario and told that a piece of secret information is located on a different machine on its network, and it has to break in and retrieve it, however, by any means necessary. And what Anthropic said was that they were telling Claude, or the intention was to tell Claude, that it did not have access to the internet, but there were some miscommunications with whoever was actually running the Claude evaluations. And so when it did hit the internet, it thought it was allowed to be there and then proceeded to use all of its, smarts and wiles to compromise some impacted organizations using basic techniques like exploiting weak passwords and finding unprotected endpoints and generally trying to capture the flag. And But, and here's like the main things that Anthropic wants you to know about this. It did not exfiltrate itself, and it did not deliberately attempt to escape its test environment. It just happened.
Everything out of Anthropic, I always think, how much of this is just straight up marketing? Like, did they feel the need to, like, they saw that OpenAI had a story that they looked cool because their models were breaking out and doing some cool hacking thing. And so they went searching inside, like, can we write anything about, like, is anything happened here? And they just had to find a way to write a couple thousand words on how, no, wait, our models, they're so insecure, they're so crazy powerful too. They can barely be kept and contained. It's not just them, us too.
Yeah, it totally feels like that. It's like, well, and if OpenAI can do it, we can also do it, and we did it better. We had 3 models that escaped. but they didn't do anything wrong. They just used the open internet like they weren't supposed to be able to.
There was the Black Hat Security Conference that happens every year in Vegas was this week, and the OpenAI had some people there, and they gave some details on their whole Hugging Face thing. And apparently, the news that came out of this is that their agents were using this package manager. So the whole crux of that hack was that they broke this package manager was supposed to be contained, but they found a vulnerability in it or whatever. But apparently, these agents created more or less like a forum within this package manager, and we're using it for different agents to communicate and store stuff. So that because different agents were working within this package manager, they were sharing. Part of what allowed them to chain them together, because these agents were basically taking notes within the package manager on what they had found.
That's awesome.
So that the next agents would start up, they'd have more context or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, that's the multi-agent orchestration that everybody wants their Claudes and their open codes to be doing. Orchestrator, all the sub-agents doing their own things and reporting back.
You don't have to build it. They'll build that stuff on their own, just for themselves. They'll just figure out a spot, like a JSON file somewhere, and just go hack on it.
Yeah. Yep. And in this article, it says like a forum or a message board, but I'm guessing it's just a JSON file that these agents are all sort of collaborating on. That would be my guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, my wife actually hit me up with some news about Dario in his comments just recently. Apparently, he said at a conference that he fears that the new junior employees that they're bringing on only care about money. Shocker.
No.
Yeah. You think?
Is this new?
Really?
Like,
yeah. You think that we all work because we need to pay bills?
I don't know if he's just in such a bubble that he just works with all these AI researchers who think they are creating God and saving the world. That
doing it for the love of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, you lose a little bit of a touch on reality.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't have to worry about money. Like, if you're so loaded in billions that you're just like, whatever. Like, yes, of course, the idea that there would be people out there who worry about paying bills seems absurd, I guess.
I mean, that just makes me think of all the interviews that I've ever been on where you're like, so why are you interested in joining this company? Well, first and foremost, I do have bills to pay.
Right.
Secondly, you're kind of maybe doing interesting things that I would be willing to do for you. But first and foremost, it's because I need to make a living.
Yeah. And because I live in America, there's also medical bankruptcy that I kind of want to avoid.
All right. I got another AI run amok story, though, for you. So,
awesome.
So Google Earth, who you might be thinking, why would Google Earth have AI features, which is kind of exactly where this story is going. For some reason, Google Earth rolled out a feature that let users use text prompts to generate false scenarios on top of a base layer of real satellite, aerial, or 3D imagery using their Google's AI image generator, Nano Banana 2. This was out for... right? So... as you might be able to guess, this was used for bad things basically immediately. So kind of immediately you saw people creating images of nuclear power plants in Iran or refugees near the US-Mexico border or things that are even worse that I'm not going to mention on this podcast. So Google reverted this and put out, of course, a long statement on Twitter about how this was very well-intentioned and there was guardrails, but...
it was bad idea.
But after careful review, we are rolling this back. So...
Wow.
But Google Earth, who would have thought?
You really... That kind of stuff really does make you wonder, though, who is reviewing this before it's getting made? Like, that idea should have gotten red flagged so quickly.
That's one of those where you look at it and you kind of know what's going to happen immediately after you see it. Like, you're putting this out for the internet to use.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anything else that we've... Oh, yeah, I see that you've got one more. A Sam Altman tweet.
Well,
Oh, boy.
I thought...
What could this be?
We normally don't just read tweets from Twitter on this show, but this actually, Jack, you set this up quite well with Dario and being completely in his own...
These guys are just crazy.
He's in his own just little world. So this is a tweet. I will just read it verbatim from Sam Altman, head of OpenAI. So, quote, "Cool use case of ChatGPT work I heard last night. Connect your family calendars and explain your kids' interests every morning for the drive to school. Have it make a podcast that talks about one kid's soccer game that afternoon, one kid's upcoming birthday, some news, etc." End quote. And then I thought the top upvoted response to this is from Alex Hirsch, who's apparently the creator of the Disney show Gravity Falls, but his response is just, or what if you just talk to your children?
Yes.
Shocker. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. I had to just I don't know.
That, to me, is the perfect example of somebody who has a product to sell, shoving that product into a place where it does not belong and trying to make a use case for it that does not exist and should not ever happen.
100%. And, I got to say, like, every time I hear the AI voice, I'm just like, ugh. Like, the moment that I hear a YouTube video or a video on X, and it's just, you can tell. And it's like, oh, nope,
yeah.
I'm out. Peace out. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even in writing, if I'm reading something and I can tell that this was just a bot that created it, like I do a Google search and I click a link and I can tell that this is just complete slop. Like, it's just a hard, nope, not interested.
Yeah.
So I don't know if either of you have seen this, but there's a newsletter website, I guess, called Substack, which has gained quite a bit of traction.
Oh, yeah.
And they just recently introduced an AI detection tool. They partnered with a company called Pangram, who I've never heard of before, but apparently that's what they do, is trying to detect AI writing. And it's not necessarily that they're trying to downplay or remove AI writing from the website, but they are trying to make users and writers aware of what may be AI generated, which is its own can of worms, because how accurate as we all know, just trying to say, was this AI made, is never completely accurate. But do you think that is something that is going to gain traction, or that people care about or want to know?
I think
I
so.
certainly do. And I would love to have it so that it say at the top of the article, like, this is probably AI generated.
The Pangram thing is interesting because I listened to an interview with their CEO, and what they do is pretty fascinating because they're kind of, in a way, reversing the process that an LLM takes, because their algorithm isn't just, does this look like AI slop, or it's not very basic. It instead says, what is the most likely word to occur after this? And if it's consistently a very consistent choice, that's its algorithm. So the way you fool something like Pangram is you do things that are creative. Honestly, you make interesting word choices, because LLMs typically don't, even if you prompt them to, they very rarely make very unique word choices. And so that's really the thing that they're grasping at. And I played with it actually a little bit. So if it's a service, it's got, you get so much free usage, and then they want you to pay after that. And in my limited testing, this is me 5 minutes playing with it, but it was quite good. And I kind of care because we have a big documentation site and we write most of our stuff, but we use AI for certain bits, especially certain documentation sections where people care less if it's AI, if it's just a set of instructions.
API stuff.
Right.
So we mix and match a little bit. We write our blogs, we produce some docs. Anyways, I was just kind of curious, and it was very good. Like, with it knew sections that we had written with AI, it was able to pick those out. But then it was saying, when we ran into things on our blog, it was like, oh, this is human written. So I was pretty impressed with my little test with it.
Yeah. It's interesting because this has now spawned like all kinds of firestorms on Substack itself from writers that they're afraid that they'll get flagged as AI either as a takedown from somebody else or that their style of writing, even if they wrote it themselves, somebody will say that it's AI generated or Pangram will, and they'll get falsely accused of it. So there's a lot of, I guess, heartburn and anxiety around that right now of being falsely accused and not having a way to prove that you actually did write it yourself or vice versa.
Yeah, it's the same thing that's come for the art world. Like, can you, it's hard to feel good about winning an art competition when people will now throw at you that like, oh, did you just generate that?
It's an interesting world.
This falls into the same, there's this through line throughout, I think, this entire episode where we were like, well, having to allow builds in NPM sucks, but here we are. This is the same sort of thing. The fact that we have to do this entire thing sucks. But you know what? Like, this is where we're at. So honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing or a bad solution. It's
and yet
a trade-off.
At the same time, you can just tell an LLM to like, hey, I've got this idea for an app, and it just like magically appears. Like, that's a superpower. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the dichotomy again between tech and like the rest of the world, and the just completely opposing viewpoints on the value and the benefits of AI, I guess.
Yeah.
And we won't solve that here. So I think we can clock out of lightning news and talk about what's actually making us happy this week.
Woohoo!
All right, Jack, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I will start us off with an obscure Japanese film called Shin Kamen Rider. It is a really crazy anime movie. But it's not anime. It's live action. But the fighting is just so incredibly off the chain and just kind of manga ridiculous. I did see this initially on. There's like a special effects show on YouTube where the guys talk about the different special effects and how they're created and and they review them, and they just showed this as like the absolute most crazy over the top thing that they'd ever seen, and I had to go get it, and so I grabbed a copy, and it was like this movie is just next level. So it's Shin Shin Kamen Kamen Rider, and Shin means like junior, I guess. Like there's Shin Godzilla and that sort of stuff. But yeah, one of those just crazy, obscure Japanese movies.
What were you watching this through? What's it on?
I
see. The internet.
Yeah. The internet.
Got it. Yeah.
Got it. Nice.
If you're motivated, you'll find a way.
Got it. Yep.
All right. TJ, what's making you happy this week?
So the existence of all these, I didn't realize all of these AI companies, a lot of them had stores. And we kind of on Discord this week had a little fun because OpenAI has this, what they call a supply. Perplexity has you can go to perplexity.supply. I guess this is apparently a thing. But
they
if
don't
you
call
look
it
through
merch?
Yeah, merch, basically. But I don't know. They need to sound more pretentious, right? So they call them supply. And these entire stores, everything in them looks very pretentious. If you go to them, like the Perplexity one, all their shirts say curious on them or know-it-all. So it's very, and you have people looking very moody as they wear their stuff. And but whatever, the thing that made me laugh the absolute hardest is that on OpenAI's shop, you can buy a $70 basketball that just says ChatGPT and has the OpenAI logo on it, which is just perfectly absurd. And it's out of stock. So apparently this thing is in hot demand. And
I tell you, if any child showed up on a basketball court with that thing, they are getting beat up first.
Oh
Yeah, TJ shared, like he said, he shared that with us earlier this week. And it's weird because you go to the link and you see these things that are available for sale. And it's the typical stuff. It's hats, it's t-shirts, it's hoodies, it's tote bags. But on the little like preview shot that loads up when you share a link, it shows a bunch of them just kind of all in a grid. And one of them was a potato. I zoomed in and there's like a randomly generated AI potato in there as part of the product shots. And I'm just like, what is this? It's not for sale, but why is it in there as the preview shot?
Oh my God. They've also got that like little keyboard, like the little like, square keyboard thing by Work Louder that, it basically just has a few buttons for like codecs. Like, I guess it would accept, go, like, whatever. And it's like, I don't understand these little keyboards. I got to say, I get them as tchotchkes for going to at conferences. And it's like, these end up in the trash, guys. It's like, seriously. I don't care if it's like, aluminum CNC, blah, 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 with, red something key switches and stuff. It's still going in the trash, bro. Like, I'm not going to have like a little thing off the side of the keyboard. Another keyboard off the side of the keyboard.
For people that don't have the ability to go look at it, so it's the Codex Creator Micro. It is $230, first of all. And it has, it's a square. It looks like it's probably a few inches tall and wide. And it just has a few buttons on there for working with codecs. It doesn't make much sense, but it is out of stock apparently. So I don't know how many they made of these.
Oh my God!
I bet they haven't hooked up the shop on the back end. I bet that's it.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just the front end. You can just see it, but you can't buy it.
Well, I know this Work Louder company is actually a thing. Like, I actually looked at that. Like, it's a collab with Work Louder, and that's
I see.
God.
Yeah,
they are actually a thing.
Can I end this section with the description of this basketball and the shop, because I think the world needs to know that sometimes the best ideas show up between open runs. This basketball comes from the Pause Play Prompt campaign, a physical reminder that creativity doesn't just live on our screens.
Wow.
You get that with your 70. That's the description you get for your $70 ChatGPT basketball. So
nice. That is some AI slop right there.
Yeah. I'm gonna look if there's any on eBay. You can't buy them on. Can't buy them on the shop anymore.
Yeah, they're limited edition now on eBay, I'm sure.
Actually, can I throw in one more thing that's making me happy this week?
Please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. So there's an application called Vibe Island that you can get. It's really good. I think it's like $19 or something like that. But basically, if you got a Mac and you got that little island area, at the top of the screen, it sits in that area, and then it keeps track of all your codecs, Claude code, sessions, your cursor sessions, and all that. And it'll give you little audio indications of when they start up. It'll give you indications of like if it's waiting on a choice, and then actually give you those choices. So if you're actually monitoring multiple vibe coding sessions simultaneously, it's really good for that. There's a couple of these out there, but this is the best one that I found, and it does the best job at like integrating like really easily. It makes integration so easy.
I am 100% going to check that out because I had Claude build its own little notification thing for little banners and sounds because I do have 3 or 4 different ones running.
Right.
And even though maybe like the banner disappears before I've had a chance to really look at it, like just knowing that something needs attention and I go over and check my warp terminals, like that is super helpful. So I'm definitely going to check out Vibe Island.
Yeah.
Because I do need that
too. I like this.
Yeah, right.
Great name, great website.
Thanks for that hot tip, Jack.
No problem.
All right. Anything else that you want to share about merch from AI companies, TJ? Or is it
No,
good?
I've got a link though in the show notes if you want to check them out. Basically, everything on ChatGPT and OpenAI is out of stock, but Perplexity still has some stuff. So if you need some Perplexity merch or some printed art, which they sell for some reason, you can check that out.
I would love to know who's buying that stuff. Truly.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. All right. So the thing that's making me happy this week is a miniseries, another TV miniseries that I watched called Ride or Die, which is on Amazon Prime. And if you've watched Ted Lasso, one of the main characters is Hannah something. I don't remember her last
Yeah.
name, but the big tall blonde who's Ted's boss.
Right.
Who's great.
Yes.
She's awesome.
Yes. She's amazing.
And Octavia Spencer, who's another actor who you've
Also
probably
amazing.
seen in a million things. Yeah. And yeah, it's great. I don't know if there is going to be a season 2. I really hope that there is. They kind of
Totally
left it
set up for it.
open-ended.
Yeah.
But it's a great watch. You'll go through it really quickly, and it's very fun because it's focused on these two, and it's set in England and France and all kinds of places in Europe, which is fun as well. So if you're looking for kind of a friend comedy with spies and hijinks and stuff, you'll probably like this one.
I thought it had an unusual amount of like heart and emotional connection for a show that's kind of like one of those unlikely buddy stories. It's like, the housewife and the assassin. And,
Right.
it starts off being very cliche that way, but then as you find out, sort of more about the characters and you kind of get into it, you're like, oh, okay, there's some depth here. And these guys are actually, they're great actors, and it's a really good movie. A really good show.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this week for us. So thanks everybody for listening. If you want to hop over into the Blue Collar Coder Discord, we have a Front End Fire channel where you can tell us all about merch you're buying or shows you're watching or, interesting things that you're finding on the news. Thanks for listening. We will see you on the next episode.
Yeah. See everybody.
See you, everybody.